Jade, your furniture refinishing best friend. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be slowing things down a little bit. So if you're all about the fast-paced, quick-moving videos, this one probably isn't for you. But if you love a laid-back, informative chat about a specific refinishing topic, you're in the right place. Today, we're rolling up our sleeves and we're exploring the nitty-gritty details about the differences in wood, veneer, and laminate. So get comfy in your seat and let's get ready to dive into this awesome furniture conversation. There's three main types of furniture. We have veneer, laminate, and solid timber. The reason why we need to know which particular type we're working with is because we are going to use that type of furniture to determine what preparation work we need to do and also what products we need to use so that we can get the best finish for that particular type of furniture. Let's take a closer look at the three types. Laminate furniture consists of synthetic materials used to form a thin layer that looks like wood. It's not actually made from wood. Veneer is a paper, thin cut of wood that's applied to both sides of a strong core surface like MDF to seal and stabilize it. Solid timber is the easy one. As its name, it's a solid slab of timber. If you have a veneer piece, you may see that there is some of the veneer that's starting to chip off. As my example here in this first picture, you'll see that the veneer was chipping off this door and it was quite obvious that it was a veneer. If the veneer is in good condition and is not chipping anywhere, you're going to have to look for a different way to determine if it is veneer. You can start by checking the back of the piece, which I'm going to show you further in the video, to see if you can see a thin piece of timber with another piece of timber underneath. You'll also recognize when you're looking at a veneer, often the grain is much more patterned. When you're looking at a natural timber grain, it is going to be much more inconsistent. When you start out, people often say it's hard to determine if it's timber, but the main obvious things is it's really heavy. You can feel the grain. There's usually timber inside the drawers. There may be carvings or dovetail joints as obvious giveaways. Lastly, a laminate piece of furniture is usually a vinyl or plastic appearance. It's going to be very light to pick up and can sound hollow to the knock. It's going to be smooth to touch and usually has a really glossy surface. My favorite to refinish is definitely solid timber. It's easy to work with and gives you a lot of options. Let me show you a couple of quick solid timber examples. You'll be able to see timber paneling and an inconsistent timber grain in each of these pieces. Let's take a deep dive together into my garage and my furniture collection so that I can show you up close what I was talking about at the start of the video. As I mentioned, I really only prefer to refinish solid timber furniture. I do, however, sometimes get given pieces that are a veneer or a laminate, and therefore I will refinish those pieces. So I've got some that I can give you as an example. If you already have a piece of furniture in mind that's going to be your next project, all you need to do is have a look at its characteristics to determine what type of material it's made of. Let's take a look at this tall boy together. If there is drawers, the first thing I do is open the drawer and check inside to see if there's solid timber. Here you'll be able to see inside this drawer there is timber paneling at the base of the drawer. If the inside of the drawer has laminate or chipboard, it doesn't necessarily mean that the top of the piece is also made of that, so you do need to check throughout the piece. Here you'll be able to see on the side of this tall boy there's also timber paneling on the side, and up the top the thickness of the timber shows that this is a solid timber chunk. The next thing you're going to look for is a timber grain. Here on the top of these tables you'll be able to see a beautiful timber grain coming through the old stain. The same goes here. Look at that timber grain there that you can see. It's inconsistent, which shows that it is normally natural timber. Let's take a look in these drawers to see what's inside these ones. You'll see that as I open the drawer, this piece also shows the same consistency throughout, which means it's got solid timber. The inside of the drawers is not in great condition, however. So I would either paint or wallpaper the inside of these drawers. You can also check what they're sliding with. This is timber on timber, as you'll see that there's just a timber panel with a timber groove that you slide the drawers onto. If they've got metal sliders, that can sometimes be an indication as well. Coming around to the back of the piece, you'll be able to see here that that's a solid chunk of timber, which does indicate that that is a full solid piece of timber. If this was a veneer top, you would see different levels of timber, which you can't see here. Let's go and take a look at a veneer piece next. If your piece is veneer and in good condition, it can be very difficult to tell. This is a stunning, beautiful veneer piece. the first thing you're going to do is go to the back of the piece and have a look at the timber. Here, where you look up close, you'll see a very thin piece of timber and then another piece of timber underneath. That little piece of timber is the veneer, and then it's got chipboard underneath the veneer. Here is a static photo so that you can try and see it up close. When you're first starting to learn how to look for a veneer, it can be quite difficult to tell. I can also usually determine by feeling the piece. So usually it's going to have a really thin, detailed piece of timber that I can feel the ripples of the surface. Let's take a look at another veneer piece now so I can show you again. Here you'll see how thin the veneer is on top and how ripply the surface is. If I come around to the back of the piece, I can then see different layers. You'll be able to see a split here, which is showing the different timbers. I've got the veneer on top, and then I have another timber underneath that veneer. This one is a little bit more obvious because you can easily see the chip in between where the two pieces of timber have been glued together. Okay, stop right there for a second. I just had to jump back in and let you know that if you love this video and diving into the nitty-gritty details, everything from A to Z in the furniture restoration world, you're going to love my beginner's online course. You can learn more down in the description. Here's the screenshot image, and we'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it really clearly. But here is a good example of what you're looking for. Basically, you're looking for two pieces of timber put together, and you can see that the top one is a different timber than the bottom one, and it can also then have another tiny layer on top of that again. If I do have a veneer piece that I'm working on, the main difference that I need to consider is how I sand it. A veneer is very thin and it is really easy to sand straight through the veneer and get to the particle board underneath, and then you can only do a certain amount with that furniture, and that's usually that you have to paint the whole piece. Here is just another example of what a solid piece of timber looks like. You'll be able to see that there's no lines and no joins there, just one solid piece of timber. This is an example of a laminate piece. When you're dealing with laminate, you'll see that the pattern is exactly the same because it is manufactured and created that way. This is different from real timber because real timber has a timber grain that does not continue the whole way through or look similar. This timber pattern that you can see here is a herringbone pattern and is clearly manufactured. If there was real timber, there would be a lot more variation here when looking at it. Laminate furniture is typically a lot thinner as well. You'll be able to see here that top panel is really quite thin. If you scratch the surface of a laminate piece, it will usually be quite smooth because of the way that it is constructed. And you'll easily be able to press your nail into the furniture because laminate is quite soft typically, as opposed to a solid hardwood, which is going to be much firmer. You can then open the drawers and have a look inside, and you'll be able to see this is exactly the same inside and out. You'll also then be able to look at the runners and see the metal tracks because laminate is always going to be on tracks. Even if your furniture is laminate, you can definitely still refinish it and create an entirely new look and feel for your piece. You just need to do it a little bit differently than you would with a solid timber piece. Just open your mind up to all the possibilities that you could do on laminate furniture. You could add wood paneling, carvings, you could create a fake wood look, paint multiple different colors. There's so many things that you can do if you open your mind to it. I just personally have a real soft spot for solid timber, and I usually, of a preference, pick solid timber pieces over laminate. The other thing that you can look for when you're looking at a laminate piece or trying to determine if your piece is in fact laminate is looking for any damage or lifting. Here you'll be able to see it's almost like a sticker on top of this chipboard where the laminate is actually lifting. This is probably the biggest giveaway that I then have a piece that is constructed with laminate. But this is an easy fix. All I need to do is glue this down really strong, give it a light sand, and then apply a great adhesion primer onto the piece so that I can paint and refinish this piece anyways. Now, I've got a first task for you. What I want you to do is go on a bit of a tour around your home. Your job is to have a look at every piece of furniture and then use your new skills to determine whether it is in fact laminate, veneer, or timber. It is going to take a little bit of time for you to be able to determine what it is that the furniture is constructed of. But once you know, it is much easier to then know how to refinish furniture because you know what you're dealing with, and every different piece of furniture is going to have a slightly different way to refinish it. It's actually a really handy skill to have. Once you start getting a little bit more invested in your refinishing furniture journey, you may start going looking at furniture shops for inspiration or having a look around to see what furniture is available in the op shops or thrift shops. Now, whenever I go to a furniture shop, I spend half the time looking for inspiration on colors and the other half of the time looking inside the drawers and all throughout the furniture to determine what the furniture is actually made of. You'd be surprised when you go looking at furniture that you thought was more high class, high end and has a higher price tag is sometimes not actually even solid timber. So what are you waiting for? Head off on the tour of your home and start putting some new skills to practice.